أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Verily all praises are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we praise Him alone, and we seek His help and His forgiveness alone. We seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil within our own selves and from the evil of our own actions. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, there is no one that can misguide. And whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves to be misguided, there is no one that can guide again back to the straight path. We testify there is none worthy of worship, none worthy to be followed, and none worthy to be obeyed except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we testify that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the servant of Allah and his last and final prophet and messenger who was sent for the whole of mankind. Amma ba'd. Today, my dear Muslims, I want to speak about a very important matter of aqeedah, matter of our belief system of Islam. And this is in particular about this issue of Irjaa. This issue of Irjaa, and the title I have given for this is the disease of Irjaa. Now obviously straight away when you hear the disease of Irjaa, you should think obviously, even if you don't know what Irjaa is, this can't be a good thing if it's a disease. And this is one of those diseases that has affected vast amounts of the ummah for many, even centuries. This issue of Irjaa has come about. And obviously this issue never existed at the time of the Prophet ﷺ or the Sahaba or those early generations of Muslim. This issue arose later, many hundreds of years later, as many deviances they rose after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, after sometimes many hundreds of years later. And inshallah, because this is such a matter that affects our belief as Muslims, our core fundamental beliefs as Muslims, is very important that we know about this disease and know how to, obviously not to fall into this, to catch this disease. And obviously those who have been infected by this disease, whether normally you think of a disease, my dear brothers, a disease when you think of it affects the body, but this disease affects the ummah. If you imagine like the hadith, the ummah is like one body, and this disease has affected many, and this is one of the many diseases that's floating around, that's affecting the ummah in the matter of in the understanding of Islam. Now the first point, obviously, the understanding of the Islamic aqeedah, the Islamic belief system, it is essential for every Muslim to know about the belief system of Islam. What is Islam really all about? What is it, its principles? What is it based upon? And you need to study about this aqeedah of Islam, about this belief of Islam, obviously in order to make sure you're really following Islam. So imagine, like, for example, someone, he says God has a son and he believes he's a part of three, and he says he's following Islam. You think this man, his belief, what he believes, it's not the belief system of Islam, it's the belief system of Christianity. So obviously, in order to be following Islam, you need to understand what is Islam and what is its principles, what is it based upon. And it is very important, my dear Muslims, that we study the Islamic aqeedah, the Islamic belief system in detail and all of its areas. Sadly, one of the things we have is many people, they pluck out certain parts of aqeedah. So they might study for years and years about the asma wal sifat, about the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they miss studying about many other aspects of aqeedah. And as a result, they could end up falling into weakness in those areas and falling into misguidance. And so that's why it is very important that when we study aqeedah, we study it comprehensively. not just focus on certain bits. Obviously, in certain eras, like we're living in today, or we were until recently, for a long time we had this fitna of this issue of people ruling by man-made laws. And this is why in certain periods of our Islamic history, certain topics were brought to the surface and highlighted even more and spoken about. Maybe not as much as other areas, which there weren't misguidance, or there weren't much misguidance in the ummah. In the same, that's why people, they came out with like some people, they say the category of hakimiyya, because people spoke about this specific matter of aqidah, because this is the fitna of the time, where people are ruling by man-made laws. At the time of Ibn Taymiyyah, he talked about asma wal sifat. He put that in a separate category, because at that time people had deviances about the names and attributes of Allah. So this is obviously his classification. The Sahaba, they weren't taught like this. Oh, there's three categories of Tawheed. It's Rububiyyah and Uluhiyyah and Asma wa Sifat. But this was today, ulama have categorized like this to help us understand. And this is why in later on, in our era today, this issue of Hakimiyya, it was put into this kind of separate thing to highlight it, because it was is the major deviancy that's taking place, where many people are falling into misguidance. So obviously, like I said, it's important, my dear Muslims, that all of us, we study the Islamic Aqidah, the Islamic belief in detail. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. And Shaykh Umar, Allah release him, subhanallah, Shaykh Umar, he once said that the Aqidah is the driving force behind all actions. So your belief will dictate your action. It's like you see it. Someone who believes, if he believes that, it don't matter, if I need something, I can just take it from anyone I like. That's if that's the belief he carries. What does he do? He goes and just mugs anyone he likes. That's his belief. If his belief system is, look, women are just pieces of meat for my pleasure, he won't care. He'll go and rape anyone. He'll force himself on any woman. If these are, so obviously the belief that we carry will dictate our action. We as Muslims, we believe in Islam. We believe in worshipping Allah, in following Allah's commands, doing the things that Allah commanded us. Hence, we pray 5 times a day. Hence, we don't shave our beard. Hence, we fast when Ramadan comes, etc. So the Aqidah, the belief system that you carry, is the driving force that dictates all your actions. And my dear Muslims, this belief, this Aqidah, it is like the foundation of a house. And Aqidah, it needs to be strong, and it needs to be built correctly. And I give, because obviously if you ever seen a house being built, everything obviously on top of the foundation, everything else will go on top of it. From the bricks, the windows, and everything you put inside, from the nice chandelier, from the luxury carpets, etc. But for example, if your foundation is built on clay, what's going to happen? The clay is obviously soft mud. Your whole house will corrupt. So the most important thing is to make sure you have the solid foundation, isn't it? And then you can focus on whatever goes on top. But if you don't get that solid foundation, you'll lose everything above it. And that's why I remember, subhanAllah, in the last place where I used to live, they knocked down some of the old buildings. And they were just working on the floor, on the foundation. They were just putting all cement in, drilling into the floor for months and months and months. And I was thinking, these guys, why are they taking so long? I can't see no houses going up. And I just see them just drilling holes in the floor, putting cement in. I think they're just milking the council, the taxpayer, whatever. And then you realize, because what they are going to build on top, they build, I think, the 5-story block of flats. You see, that's a lot of weight and stuff. So the foundation obviously has to be very strong and firm. And that's why you'll see many times when the people build house, they spend most of their time building that foundation of the building. You see, and then the rest they build very quick. So, and same like this with our aqidah, with our belief, we need to get the foundation of our belief of Islam solid and firm. And then we can build on the other stuff of the salah, of the zakat, of the hajj, of the dawah, of the jihad, and everything else on top. And this is why, obviously, you'll see many people, you'll see many good stuff from them in terms of they follow the sunnah, they use the miswak, they have the izhar above the ankles, they pray 5 times a day, they eat from like how the sunnah and all this stuff. And at the same time, you'll see, for example, he'll go to the grave of a dead person and he'll ask him for, asking for help on things. His wife can't have children. He's going asking them, this dead man in the grave, when he should be asking only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, many people, they pray and they fast, but you see they openly commit acts of kufr and shirk because their foundation was never solid. And obviously that foundation is the most important thing. And this is why it's very important when we study about aqidah of the Islamic belief system and we make sure that is firm and strong. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, my brothers, we need to understand Islam the way that the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us Islam, and not what we think Islam is. Sadly, this is the thing we have in today's society. Many people, if you ask them what is Islam, he's got his own understanding of what is Islam. And this is why you see many people come out with very strange statements and very ajib stuff, which has nothing to do with Islam. And in fact, changing Islam to something else, which makes it not Islam anymore. So our understanding of Islam needs to be how the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us Islam, and how the Sahaba, they understood Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Surah Baqarah, ayah 151, that similarly we have sent you a messenger of your own, i.e. the Prophet ﷺ, reciting to you our verses, i.e. the Quran, and sanctifying you and teaching you the book and the hikmah, and teaching you that which you used not to know. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the Prophet ﷺ, he taught the book and the hikmah. Here in this verse, the hikmah means the sunnah. And you see, that's why I mentioned this verse. Many people, they'll say stuff like, brother, what you're doing is not hikmah. So I said, bro, look. So if you were, for example, if you were to come out openly and you call people to give up the worship to the idols or give up the worship to democracy, they'll say, someone will come up to you and say, bro, that's not hikmah. So hikmah is what, as the verse says, is the sunnah, the sayings and the actions. So you say, but bro, the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca, he did that. So that's the real hikmah. The hikmah is to follow the sunnah, what the Prophet ﷺ did, and the reason why he did, and the way he did it. That is the real hikmah. Sadly, people, they translate hikmah as, brother, I don't see as a wise thing to do. This is why, because linguistically, hikmah is like wisdom. You see, so he thinks he's the big wise man, and he thinks, look, I can't see how this is a wise thing to do, to come out openly and call for la ilaha illallah. But obviously, we don't follow your hikmah. We follow the hikmah of the Prophet ﷺ. We follow the Quran and the Sunnah, the hikmah. And so that's why, my dear Muslim, it is very important we study the Islamic Aqidah, especially considering that the Prophet ﷺ warned us that many people, they will deviate from his understanding. and as a result they'll be misguided and they will end up upon the path to the hellfire. And we know this, and we mention this again and again. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that my ummah will divide into 73 sects. And there are many hadiths about this division, similar wording. All will be in the hellfire except one. So the companions, they asked, O Messenger of Allah, who are the saved sect? So straight away they want to get straight to the point. We're not worried about them. We want to be part of the saved one. Who are the saved ones? So the Prophet ﷺ said that those who are upon what me and my companions are upon. Obviously, you see in the ummah today, you see many people, they become deviated from the understanding of the Prophet ﷺ, from how he taught Islam, how he understood Islam, and how his companions, they understood from him. And people, that what they say and what they believe, the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, they never believed like this. So this is why we want to follow the same Islam that the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ came in. Not the Islam that David Cameron thinks is the correct Islam, or Obama, or or John. We want to follow the Islam and the belief that the Prophet ﷺ and how the Sahaba, they understood it. Obviously his students, the companions. And in order so that, like the hadith mentioned, so that we can be, obviously, my dear Muslim, part of that saved sect. So we can be upon what me and like the hadith said, me and my companions were upon. And it is very important that we study about the Islamic Aqidah from childhood, and we build up from there. Even as from a young age, we should be teaching children about the Islamic belief system. And we should be instilling about, especially focusing on Tawheed. That's why you'll see, when you have children and you teach them, we focus on, that look, like one hadith we mentioned, Ibn Abbas, when he was a little boy, the Prophet ﷺ, in one of the part of the hadith, he said, if you ask only Allah. SubhanAllah, it's such a simple thing. If you ask only Allah. Teach this to our children. When you ask for anything, ask only Allah. Build up these core foundations. Because today you see people, they fall into the shirk because they ask others besides Allah. So you instill in that Allah is only one. He has no partners. Allah is the only one that can give life and take life. There's this cartoon. It's very good. What's that cartoon? The Mystery Bunch. Don't know if any of you. It's very good. It's about, they have cartoons usually teach about the names and attributes of Allah. So they focus on one particular name, and there has a little story behind it. It's fantastic. It's very good about teaching children. So obviously we want to, like I said, the focus has to be on the foundations of Islam. So like someone could grow up and he knows how to pray, he knows how to fast, but then in his belief he has dodgy belief. He believes Allah is everywhere, but he prays and fasts. He believes that I can ask someone else because he is a pious worshipper, and he will carry my dua to Allah because he's close. So he used him as an intercessor, like how the mushrikeen on Quraysh, they used to worship the idols, and said, no, we worship that to get closer to Allah. And that's how the shirk started. So obviously, from a young age, it's very important we focus on the Islamic belief system with children. And it is very important, my dear Muslims, that we learn about the Islamic Aqidah from the ulama who have the deep understanding of the deen of Islam and follow the Aqidah upon Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is obviously the firaq, the sect, which goes back to the understanding of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. The Ahlul Sunnah follow the Sunnah, and the Jama'ah of the Sahaba, how they understood Islam, how the companions. This is what Ahlul Sunnah was. We follow the Quran and the Sunnah with the understanding of the Sahaba. We want to go back to the root source, the evidence, the dalil, the Quran and the Sunnah, and how the companions, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praise them, how they understood it. And obviously Islam is based on divine revelation. It's not based on the opinions of men. That's why many times you hear brothers, they'll say, brother, where's the dalil? Where's the evidence? Show me the evidence. Show me Quran and Sunnah. Because he wants to bring it back to the root source. And this also, we don't follow the opinion. Islam is, like I said, it's not based on what I think and he thinks and what she feels and this. This is from, in fact, from the deen of the kuffar. Because they follow their own desires. And this is one of the reasons why we don't accept democracy. Democracy is not based on revelation. It's not based on, Jibreel, and we came to David Cameron and told us you should make this law. No, Jibreel won't do this. Yeah, most probably Shaitan to come to him. So we don't follow the opinions of men. We follow the revelation from what Allah has commanded us, what He has legislated for us. And like I said, this is why, my dear Muslim, we always ask for evidence. And obviously our deen and the actions that we do has to be based on evidence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Surah An-Nisa verse 56 that, O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those in authority from among you. And here's, and even in the translation, it puts in brackets the Muslims. So those in authority must be Muslims, not like, oh, David Cameron's in authority above me, I must obey him. This is where the sellouts will try their explanation. They will try to give you, and they used to do that at the time of when the British used to colonize India. You know, the dodgy ulama used to give the fatwa saying that, oh, Queen Victoria is an authority among you. You have to obey her. You see that? So just like you had dodgy people, the chamche, the imams, you have like many of them around today. So the verse says, obey Allah and obey the Messenger, those in authority from among you. And if you differ in anything amongst yourselves, refer it back to Allah and His Messenger. If you believe in Allah and the last day, and that is better and more suitable as a final determination. Look how Allah is saying. It's not saying refer it back to those in authority among you. It's saying refer it back to Allah and His Messenger. Refer it back to the Quran and the Sunnah. This is why if we differ, let's bring out the Quran and the Sunnah and let's see what they say. But today people, it's like they've edited this verse and they put obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those in authority among you, and if you differ, refer back to the scholars. This is what people will say. Refer back to, but what did the scholars say? As one Abdul Haq, he constantly says, people, you bring him evidence from Quran and Sunnah, and then you say, yeah, but akhi, what did the scholars say? So clear-cut evidence from Quran and Sunnah, but he is not enough for him. He needs to know what the scholars have said about it. The verse doesn't say that. The verse says, refer back to Allah and His Messenger. And my dear Muslim, there are many people out there who wish to deliberately distort Islam. And there are people out there who they have misinterpreted aspects of Islam from the Ahlul Bid'ah, from the people of innovation. And we know this. We know the kuffar day and night. They're trying to corrupt Islam. Even if you just go on the internet, just search something on Google, there are so many websites out there that are anti-Islam. And they will deliberately even make websites to make it look like, this is run by some Muslim. And they will put in corruption. There's many Shia websites out there. And this one, they will deliberately distort and twist verses. They will lie. They will try to put in their Christianity sometimes into verses of the Quran. I remember I was watching a Q&A, Sheikh Ahmed Didat may Allah give him Jannah, someone asked him, he said that he gave this guy, he gave the translation of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He said, uh, uh, in the name of God we proceed, or something, we begin. And Ahmed Dida said, no, that's not what Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim means. He said, who he exposed him big time. So who told you this? This is not what. You see, if when you said in the name of God we begin, that could be many different religions who believe in the name of God. Obviously, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. You see, someone, he'll twist it like this. That's why one of the ways the Christians, they give dawah, they do their dawah by deception. I remember once he got out this it's a Bible. The front he was showing, it's got a picture of a rose. So many, and people giving it out. So people think, wow, this is some kind of romantic novel or something. We'll take it. You open up, it's the Bible. See, that's a way of getting the Bible into people's homes, etc. So obviously, like I said, the kuffar, they day and night, they want to distort Islam. They want to belittle Islam. They want to tarnish the image of Islam. And one of the ways they do that, they want to spread lies about Islam. They want to take out verses of the Quran and quote them out of context. They want to even change the translation of certain verses. And I remember once in a dawah, in a roadshow, I can't remember the woman. I think she was a Shia woman. She said, she quoted a verse of the Quran. She said, and Allah is the best of deceivers. I said, where did you get this from? And then I said, tell us, give us the reference. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. And the verse they quoted, inshallah, let me just undot a few people here. Let me sound test. Assalamu alaikum, can you still hear us online, inshallah? Bismillah, it's a mic test. Okay, alhamdulillah. So what we're saying, what she was doing, she used the reference, the verse that they plot and Allah plans. Allah is the best of planners. And there is some dodgy website, probably some kafir made it. It actually says in that translation, it says Allah is the best of deceivers. And subhanallah, and we looked at the original Arabic word, and the original translation said, look, the correct translation, it doesn't say deceiver, he's the best of deceivers. So obviously this is an example where people, they're pushing out this stuff, and you see occasionally sometimes, they release this new Quran in some, I've seen many of these messages come out, and it's different, translated completely incorrectly to make Islam look bad. And even the Shia, they don't have the same Quran that you and I have at home. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Their Quran is bigger because they add all this additional stuff inside it. Obviously all their lies and all their fabrications. So obviously, like I said, my dear Muslims, there are people obviously who deliberately, from the kuffar, who deliberately want to distort Islam and spread lies about Islam and lies about Muslims and tarnish the image of Muslims. Why? Because they're kuffar. Because they hate Islam. They hate Islam. They hate everything about Islam. They might say with their tongue, yeah, we know Islam is like Paul Wood Cameron says, Islam I believe is a great religion. Is a fantastic. It's just these people, some people, they have misunderstood Islam. They've got a warped version of Islam. So basically, Cameroon, he's going to teach you what the real Islam is, bro. You know, Islam, what he thinks is Islam. This is what the Islam that he wants you to follow. Like I said, there are many people throughout Islamic history, sometimes genuine acts of genuine sincerity, but they misinterpreted aspects of Islam, misinterpreted verse of the Quran. And many of it happened because of the Arabic language. They took, for example, they took the linguistic meaning of certain words and they went astray. Or they misunderstood the asbab al-nuzul, the circumstance of revelation of certain verses. So there's, for example, there's one verse that says, worship Allah until there comes to you the certainty. So someone says, okay, I am certain that Islam is the truth, that Allah is only one, deserved to worship, Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, I'm certain of it. I'm certain of the day of judgment and paradise and hellfire. That's it. I don't need to do anything else. I've got the certainty. You see, it's misunderstood. Here, this verse, the certainty talks about the death, to worship Allah until the inevitable, guaranteed for everyone, until the death obviously comes to you. So coming back, inshallah, to the topic of Irjaa, because obviously the people, they lie and they give incorrect understanding of Islam. They will try to use, one of the ways they will try to use fabricated hadiths, and they will try to support their lies and their distorted meanings of verses and hadith to fit their own, obviously, dodgy aqidah. And that's why you see amongst the deviant people from the different deviant sects, you'll see many of them, they quote hadiths that are completely fabricated, just completely made up, or quoting, just always constantly quoting daif hadith. And because the beliefs that they carry is not from Islam. So obviously they need to justify it. And they're not going to find authentic hadiths, and they're going to find verses of Quran to support their dodgy aqidah. And that's why many people, they resort to using fabricated hadiths and taking verses of the Quran out of their context. So as we said earlier, the Irjaa, it is a disease. And it is a very dangerous disease that affects the whole body of the ummah. And it is a disease, my dear Muslims, that makes someone's aqidah unwell. It is a disease that makes your aqidah unwell. If I just think about it for a moment, like for example, when you have the flu, you have a viral infection. It affects your body. And in the same way, there are dodgy beliefs that people have, the diseases that affect people's beliefs about Islam. So obviously, you can see from the kuffar, from the, like for example, Nasara, the Christians, they have dodgy aqidah. So they attribute a son to Allah. They believe God is part of a trinity, 3 in 1, 1 in 3, etc. And this is why you see they have their dodgy behavior. You know, they'll make statues, etc. You have the Hindus. Obviously, they have dodgy aqidah. They believe Allah is inside everything. I'm sure you heard that. They say God is inside everything. Even inside, you know, literally. I'm not joking. I remember once I used to, I was working at one job in some off license. I used to be a telephone engineer. And when somebody told me that, look, Hindus believe God is inside everything, I thought, nah, it can't be. You must have misunderstood what he said. So I thought, let me test it out. So I asked the shopkeeper. I said, look, somebody told me you believe that God is inside everything. Is that true? I was expecting him to say no, we don't. He said yes, it's true. I thought, what? so there's just like a chair just next to me, and I thought, I said to him, is God inside that chair? And he goes, yes, go inside the chair. I thought, oh my God, he does really believe in God. So I said, look, Is God inside me? He said, yes, God is inside you and inside me as well. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This obviously the dodgy aqidah. This is not the correct understanding. And that's why you see they end up with dodgy behavior. Like we said, the aqidah is the driving force behind all of our actions. So so that's why you see, like I said, the Christians, they'll make statues, they'll worship the cross. The Hindus, they will have a shower in cow piss because of the dodgy aqidah. It drives them to do corrupt behavior. The same way sometimes you see the Muslims, because they have dodgy belief, they'll come up with dodgy actions, and they could end up falling into the shirk, end up doing haram, kufr and shirk. And one of the reasons, for example, this issue of irja, as we'll see, because he believes that the belief is only in the heart, he can do whatever he likes with his limbs. He can say whatever. He can even utter kufr. He can lie about Allah. He don't have to pray. He can commit zina. He can commit murder. He can gamble. Why? Because the belief is inside. That's all. Because he has that dodgy aqidah. So like you said, obviously, my dear Muslims, we need to have the correct belief in order to make sure our actions are correct. So as we mentioned, I gave you the example, like I said, if someone has the flu, he has the virus infection, the disease, and it will cause him to have, unwanted behavior like the runny nose, the headaches, the body pains. So in the same way, when someone has that irja inside him, it will cause him to say dodgy stuff, to have dodgy beliefs. It will say someone, a Muslim or someone he can commit kufr and shirk, and they have to follow it up with belief in their heart. So like, for example, if someone, like the issue of istibdal, if someone replaces the laws of Allah with kufr laws and man-made laws, this is kufr action. But then he'll say, but he has to do it in his heart as well. So like, I'll give you an example. So let's say, for example, someone committed a zina, married man committed zina, 4 witnesses, etc. has been found guilty. We don't ask him, do you believe zina is halal to do zina? We don't ask him that. In fact, if you ask him, obviously the punishment is stoning to death for adultery. In fact, if you ask him that and he says, yeah, I believe it's halal, then you have to kill him for become apostate because he did istihlal. You see, if someone were to steal, we don't ask him, do we? Do you believe stealing is halal? If he stole and is guilty, you just remove his hands. But if you ask him, do you believe stealing is halal? It's halal to steal. If he says yes, he now made istihlal, and now you have to kill him as an apostate, a murtad. We don't ask. We don't ask you. Did you while you were committing the zina, did your heart feel it was allowed to do it? While you were stealing, did your heart feel like it was good that you were stealing? We don't ask this. No one in the history of Islam ever asked like this. But obviously, someone who has this irja, he will try to investigate the person's heart, and because he will say, look, if he does kufr and shirk actions, that's not enough. We need to check and see, did he believe that it was allowed to do it? And obviously the thing with the irja is, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, if I say, look, for example, this brother, he believes he did black magic, and he believes it's halal to do black magic. Now, what is the problem with that statement? Imagine I never spoke to him. The problem with that is, how do I know he believes this? I've judged, isn't it, what he believes in his heart. And this is something I can't open up his chest, as we mentioned in the hadith. I can't check his heart. We have to judge people based on their apparent actions. So you see how that irja, it can have disastrous effects on the aqidah. So coming back, inshallah, there was once one of the early caliphs, Al-Ma'mun. It was once said a man called Nidr, he entered upon Al-Ma'mun and he said, so Ma'mun, he said, how have you awoken, O Nidr? So I said, in goodness, O Amirul Mu'mineen. And he asked, what is Irjaa? And I replied, a religion that agrees with the kings, and they gain from the dunya with it, and they lose from their religion. And upon that he said, you have spoken the truth. And that's narrated in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, Ibn Kathir. You can see, my dear Muslims, why this statement. You have imagine you're the king. So remember, we're saying the irja we'll come across it, to separate the actions from the iman. So the king, he will do all the kufr and shirk. He will drink the alcohol. He will legislate the zina and the riba, etc. And he will do the zulm and everything. But you can't do nothing. You can't do nothing against him. Why? Because in his heart, he rejects all of this. They say, in my heart, I didn't think this was halal to do all of this stuff. And the people will say, look, but his heart, we don't judge his outer actions. He's got a good heart. You see, this is when you have the irja. This is why you can see the irja is loved by many people, because it gives the open doors to commit all the haram, all the sins. And then you can just, in the end, you can protect yourself by saying, but my heart is good. And now you're untouchable. This is why the irja is liked by so many people. Inshallah, we'll explain, my dear Muslims. The irja obviously is a big topic and has many different branches. And inshallah, I'll cover as much as I can in the short time we have. So as you can know, irja is a disease which it needs to be eradicated from our aqidah. Now, linguistically, the word irja in Arabic is in English what we say is an adverb. As those of you, I don't know if you remember your English lessons from school. Who knows what adverb is? And pay attention. Don't worry, I didn't know either. I had to look it up. Adverb is like I can best explain. It's like a doing word. So like swimming. Yeah, like an action, doing an action. So swimming, walking, riding is an examples of adverbs. Yeah. So linguistically, irja in Arabic is an adverb of the word arja. Yeah. Which means to delay a thing, to delay a thing. Yeah. Or if you make irja for any matter, it means you like delay it, or for example you exclude it. Yeah. So this is what we're talking about. When someone does irja, he delays a matter or he excludes it. Yeah. Now, irja amongst the juristic scholars, it means to take out action from the name of Iman. Yeah. Because like I said, remember I said many people, they became deviant because they took the linguistic meaning of words and they believed it like this. So, for example, linguistically, salah means, one of the meanings is dua, to make dua. So imagine if someone says, oh, salah 5 times a day. So every 5 times a day, he just raises his hands to Allah and he makes dua. It's I do salah 5 times a day. But you see, he's taken the linguistic meaning of the word and he's implied incorrectly. Whereas the word salah, how we understand in the Sharia meaning, obviously the 5 daily prayers, the Fajr, the Dhuhr, the Asr and the Maghrib, to be prayed in the prescribed time, in the manner the Prophet ﷺ described it, in the physical, the bowing, prostration, the sujood, the ruku, etc. So we need to, we need to understand what they mean in the Sharia. So irja amongst the juristic scholars, they described it as to take action from the name of Iman. out from the name of Iman. Remember, we said is to delay or to exclude it. Yeah, so to take action out from the name of Iman. And this is another way, like I said, this is another way how many people they became deviant and they left the Sharia meaning. And I remember a good example one brother he gave of this. There was, I think this is a Qadiani or a guy once we met at a roadshow a long time ago, and he said that the meaning of zakat is to purify. So this brother he spoke Arabic. He said, so does that mean we take all of our money and put it in the washing machine and then it comes out pure? So yeah, that just completely destroyed him just with that one thing. Obviously, to purify your wealth, that's not how you can do it. By paying the zakat, you purify your wealth. You can't just take all your money, put on put on 90 degrees, put your aerial in, and it comes out pure. It don't work like this. So in the Sharia, the Irjaa means to remove actions from being part of Iman. I'm just going to draw just a few circles, inshallah, just to give you an indication. So, for example, if we have, imagine this is Iman. And so we have the three parts of Iman, which is conviction in the heart. And then we have testification by the tongue. And then we have acting willingly by the limbs. All of this, if we were to draw Iman, this is Iman. All of this comprises of Iman, and this is how Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah we understand Iman. For all three of these, it comprises, this is what Iman is. Okay, so the people who have Irjaa, what they will do, if I had a board rubber, piece of tissue. So they'll say Iman, so they will basically delete these two. So this is Iman for them. And they will put, so for example, the tongue and the limbs. Actions of the tongue and the limbs are separate. So you see that they've excluded, like we mentioned, they've excluded the actions from the Iman. And obviously this is incorrect. And this example that I've drawn there of this separation is what the Jahmiyyah, one of the sects, that they say about Iman. They say that Iman, the Jahmiyyah, to spell it in English like this. So they believe like this. So they'll say the Iman is only in the heart. And then you have another deviant sect, the Karamiyyah, which is just right here. Let me spell that. Karamiyyah. Yeah. So you have another deviant sect. They also have this Irjaa. They'll say that Iman is only in the tongue. So long as someone he testifies to the Shahada, for example, he's a believer, he's Muslim. Even if he don't believe Islam is the truth in his heart, and even if he don't even do any actions, long as he testifies to it. Obviously, it's completely batil. But like I said, they have this dodgy, this sect. Obviously, both of these are kuffar. They have this dodgy understanding. And there are, obviously, the Murji'ah, there are many different types. And there are some Murji'ah who also believe that Iman is only in the heart and in the tongue. Yeah? So there are some people who believe that Iman is only in the conviction in the heart and testification with the tongue, and that's it. It don't matter if you don't do any action, if you don't pray, it don't matter. If you don't fast, it doesn't matter. So obviously that's another. So there are different degrees. Some are people are extreme Murji'ah, like for example the Karamiya, who just say, you just have to testify to the Shahada, and that's it. See, and obviously that is completely incorrect. So the people who do this Irjaa, we say they are the Murji'ah. Yeah. So this is how we categorize these people who have this Irjaa. We say they are the Murji'ah, and they are a firaq, a sect, and this sect is obviously misguided. And this is how, because this is obviously, like I mentioned, we want to follow Islam and we want to believe Islam, how the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, how they understood Islam. And they never understood Iman like this, that you can just believe in your heart and you don't matter in what your actions are. You can commit all kinds of kufr and shirk in your action. In the same way, their understanding of Islam was not, long as you testify to the Shahada and that's it. That makes you believe, and you can, even if you don't really believe it, and you can do any kufr with your actions, with your limbs. So like I said, obviously this is not the understanding of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. And the Murji'ah, they separate their actions from what they believe, and so they will never call anyone fasik from their outer actions, like their sayings or the actions of the limbs. Rather, they will leave it until the day of judgment. And anyone who has the disease will never judge someone to be fasik or kafir or even murtad. And they will just want to leave it to Allah. And they believe that Iman is only in the heart, and so they always exclude all actions, whether verbal or physical, from Iman. Obviously, there's a big paragraph, but what would that mean? Basically, what he's saying is, look, I believe in Islam, etc., but this person, he does all the shirk, all the kufr, but we can't say he's fasik. We can't call him kafir. We can't call him mushrik. And the reason why we can't do it, because his outer actions, what he says, even if he insults Allah, if he insults his Nabi, even if he bows down to an idol, even if he practices black magic, even if he rules by man-made laws, we can't call him kafir or mushrik, etc., or murtad. Why? Because the person who has irja, he say it doesn't matter, because his actions are not part of Iman. So whatever he did with his tongue, whatever he said, whatever he did with his limbs, it did not affect his Iman. You see? So that, what is it, like I said, that obviously gives the green light. Do whatever you like, isn't it? You can do whatever you like, and the people who have irja, they'll never class you as, an apostate. They'll never take you outside the fold of Islam. They never call you a sinful person, even if you drink alcohol, even if you gamble, because these are just actions. And the only thing, long as they believe you got the Iman, long as you got the conviction in the heart. And like I said, my dear Muslims, this is why the irja, it is loved by the fasik fajr, and by the munafiqeen, and by the murtadeen. The irja is loved by them. Because why? Because, like I said, they can do all the haram, all the kufr and shirk, and no one can accuse them of doing anything bad. No one can accuse them of, leaving the fold of Islam, because they will just turn around and say, look, the actions are not part of Iman. They never affected my Iman. You see. And this is an example I give if you ever come across this concept of diplomatic immunity, sometimes when foreign countries they send like the ambassador, he like sometimes he has this what we call diplomatic immunity. So even if he like commits a crime in that country he was sent to, he'll be immune from prosecution. You see, so in the same way, someone who has this irja, he'll believe he's immune from the punishment of Allah and from any sin being falling upon him. So he believes, that's why he can say, long as I believe in my heart, I believe in Allah, I believe in Islam, I believe in the Day of Judgment, I believe Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the prophet, last and final prophet of Allah, I believe in the Day of Judgment, paradise, hellfire, and then he could do all the disobedience from the actions. He can disobey Allah. Why? Because he is immune from any sin from the actions. But like I said, this is not obviously anyone who understands some basic understanding of Islam can see this is complete obviously lunacy. This is crazy. This is not how the Prophet he taught Islam. So like I said, my dear Muslims, obviously belief, as we mentioned previously, belief in the heart is not enough. Rather, you must testify and you must do the actions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded you. And also I mentioned Surah Mulk, verse 2, that the one who created life and death in order to test who is best in action, in amal, who is best in deeds, in the actions. So, and obviously I put it in the notes. You probably notice when I give, I put a lot of examples when I'm giving talks to it, because the main thing, my dear Muslims, is we understand the concept rather than sometimes learning the terminologies and all the definition. More important that we understand the concept. So, like I put here, imagine, I don't know, this brother, he just got a brand new Ferrari, and who here can't drive? He doesn't know how to drive. Okay, this brother, he says, let me take it for a spin. Your brand new Ferrari, you just spent £200,000. Would you let him take it for a spin?
He doesn't have to drive, so.
Why not? Why not? Obviously, I wouldn't do the same as well. Obviously, you don't want your Ferrari to get banged up, isn't it? So why I mentioned this is someone he claims La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Oh Allah, I believe in you. Oh Allah, I worship you. Oh Allah, I fear you. Oh Allah, I believe in your Day of Judgment, your paradise, in your hellfire. Yet he don't do no action. How can Allah subhanahu give him entry into his paradise? He doesn't do the action that Allah subhanahu commanded him. In the same way, I give the example, you won't allow, Allah subhanahu will not allow you entry into his paradise. If you don't do, you need to prove your Iman. Like the brother, you need to prove that you can drive. You need to prove it. Like maybe show me your driving license at least. Even then, I'm sure you probably won't. I know I'm touching my car. But you need to prove, at least prove to me that you can drive. You see, why I mentioned is you need to prove that you sincerely believe in Allah and you want to worship Allah by your actions. It's not just a case of, yeah, I believe it. You need to prove it with your action. So, in the past, there was a man called Jaham ibn Safwan, who defined Iman and he restricted it to the heart. And he also restricted the kufr also to only disbelieving in the heart. And this detaches Iman from all actions. Also, there was another man called Muhammad ibn Karam who defined Iman as testification by the tongue. Obviously, we meant Karamiyya. So these are obviously people who came up with this dodgy understanding. So this corruption, my dear Muslims, in Aqidah of Irjaa has caused a lot of corruption in the deen. and he has allowed many calamities to befall the Muslims for many years. So for example, for years we had people, they changed the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They completely changed it. They got rid of it and they put their own laws in place. But he says the kalima. He says La ilaha illallah. All of his actions, he contradicts the teachings of Islam. But yet someone, if he has the aqidah of understanding of Irjaa, he will not call him kafir, even though he did declare kufr, because he will say, look, I don't know what's in his heart. I don't know what's in his heart. The heart is the main. So the issue with the Irjaa, the main focus is on the heart. So, and someone will say, I don't know what's in his heart, and I can't check what's in his heart, so therefore I can't call him kafir. I can't accuse him. So they'll even come up with this strange statement. They'll say his action is kafir, but he's not kafir. How can your action be kafir? Your action could be kufr. So they'll come out with this. And you see, my dear Muslims, for years people have been allowing the lands of the Muslims to be corrupted, the soil to be polluted with the kufr and shirk, and yet those people are still in power. They allow all the haram to take place, and they are supported by, and they have their dodgy ulama around them who say, look, yes, he did this, he legislated the riba, he legislated the haram, yes, in his country he legislated the homosexuality, but this is just his actions. It has no effect on his Iman, so you can't rise against him. You can't call him kafir. And you see, this is another danger of the Irjaa. So in the same way, you see, like I said, someone, he can commit all the kufr and shirk under the sun. So he can ally with the Crusaders, ally with the Christians against the Muslims. But you can't call him murtad. Why? Because it's just a physical action he's doing. In his heart, he loves them, really, he loves the Muslims and he hates the Christians. He loves the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he loves the Quran, and he loves the Sunnah, and he loves the believers, and he is harsh towards the disbelievers. But he's just allying with the kuffar against the Muslims. So his action is kufr akbar. But they'll say, but look, we can know what's in his heart. As long as in his heart he's committing shirk sincerely, it's fine. You see, so you see the dangers of this Irjaa. So the Murji'ah, my dear Muslims, they put action outside of Iman, and they treat actions like it's just Kamal. So like, for example, when we say when you make wudu, so you wash your face, your arms up to the elbows, you wipe the head. The Kamal is to perfection. To perfect your wudu is to what? Like, for example, like do each part 3 times, isn't it? To do it 3 times. The Kamal is to do the right first and then the left. So what they'll say with like the Iman, just to have the belief in the heart is sufficient. And if you want to just like, perfect that belief, you pray, you fast, you give zakat, you do hajj, you do dawah, you do jihad, you command good and forbid evil. But it's not necessary. It's better if you do it. It's just additional, like this. And they treat it like the actions like this. You see. So you see the dangers of it, and you destroy many rulings of Islam. So for example, the hadith who talks about the one who obviously deserts the salah is kuffar. But the one who has irja, he said no, he's not. Because this is just the outer action. It has no effect on his iman. You see, for example, the hadith mentioned where about the one who changes his deen, capital punishment. So even if someone comes out and he used to be Muslim, and he comes out and he says, look, uh, I'm no longer Muslim, I've left Islam, I've gone to Christianity. Someone with extreme irja, he won't even say, look, this person is kafir. He said, yeah, he's saying that with his tongue, but maybe in his heart, he really believes Islam is still the truth, so I can't call him kafir. I can't implement the punishment. Then you can't. Who can become murtad then? No one. No one can become outside the fold of Islam. How will you ever implement that punishment? You can't. It's impossible. So, my dear Muslims, you must believe only Allah deserves to be worshipped. So this is what they so they believe, for example, Allah is the only one deserved to be worshipped, and they'll say it's good if you do it by, for example, praying the salah. It's more better if you prove that by doing the action, but it's not compulsory upon you. This is what the Irjaa does. So, like for example, someone will believe that Allah is the only lawmaker, the only legislator, and it's good if you go ahead and you implement His Sharia. It's just, it's more better, but it's not compulsory. Because again, as long as you have that belief in your heart. So this wrong understanding that actions are not part of Iman, it leads to dangerous thoughts and belief in Aqidah. To the extent someone will even say there is nothing wrong with not acting upon Allah and His Messenger's commands, even though they are capable of doing it. Like I said, you see, that's why, subhanallah, you'll see, it starts to make sense when you understand people's Aqidah, why they behave in certain ways. I'm sure you've met many people in the community, when you advise them about to pray the salah, or many people that they don't pray at all. They don't pray at all. Many sisters, they don't wear khimar and jilbab at all. And when you speak to them and you try to advise them, they'll say, sometimes they'll say, look, yeah, I know, but my heart is good. Long as I'm not hating those things in my heart, and I still love Islam, and I love Allah, and I love the Messenger, and I love the Sharia, it's okay. You see, this is what the Irjaa does. It causes someone to be neglectful of doing the duties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded upon them. And you meet many people like that, and you see what it comes. The reason why they don't behave, and they pray the salah, etc., and they cover up, and they, eat halal, etc., and do halal jobs, because many of them, they have this dodgy understanding in their aqeedah, and they believe that the action is not going to affect my iman, and it's not part of it. You see. And like I mentioned, obviously this is a major deviation, and this is not what the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, they understood. So obviously, so they will, like I said, they won't call anyone kafir. The extreme Murji'ah, they even say, even to the extent you'll hear people, they'll say the Christians might be, they may be believers, you can't call them kafir. Because maybe in his heart, maybe he believes Islam is really the truth, but he's just not showing it, you see. So obviously you can't be like this. Imagine the Pope. Let's say let's say there's no one around, he just died here now. Where are you gonna bury him? Are you seriously telling me that, look, we don't know, maybe in his last moment just before he died, we didn't hear it, but he said the shahada, or he became Muslim, no one else was aware of it, but we don't want to mistakenly bury him in the graveyard of the kuffar, so we bury him with the Muslims? You wouldn't do that, would you? So you cannot have this understanding. Again, like you said, we mentioned, you can't make someone who has irja, he won't make takfir on anyone. He won't call anyone murtad. So the extreme murja, they will even say if he says in my heart, I don't believe in Islam, even then he won't call him kafir. And secondly, they will believe that Iman can never be affected or negated by any actions of the tongue or the limb, however corrupted it may be. And so from that, leading on to that, they will say that Iman, it does not increase or decrease by actions. You see where this root of it comes from. So someone will do good deeds or bad deeds and it won't affect their Iman, because they have that separation because from the action of the limbs and the actions of the tongue from being part of Iman. SubhanAllah, there is a two beautiful verses here which really destroys this Aqidah of the Murji'ah. If you look at it, Surah Baqarah verse 142 to 143. This is a this is what Sheikh Faisal would describe as the knockout punch, the knockout punch for the Murji'ah. It mentions here, the fools among the people will say, who has turned them, i.e. the Muslims, from their Qibla, to which they used to face in prayer? Say to Allah, or say to the Prophet ﷺ, to Allah belongs the east and the west. He guides whom He wills to the straight way. Before if you remember, the Qibla didn't always used to be Mecca to the Kaaba. It used to be before towards Jerusalem. And obviously Allah SWT commanded the Qibla to be changed. And in the next verse it continues, just make sure the PowerPoint is still on. The next verse it continues, and thus we made you a just and balanced nation, also a leading nation, to witness over mankind, and the messenger is a witness over you. And we made the Qibla which you used to face only to test those who followed the messenger from those who would turn on their heels. Indeed, it was great except for those whom Allah guided, and Allah would never make your faith. This is in the translation, says Allah will never make your faith to be lost. Truly Allah is full of kindness and most merciful towards mankind. Now, the asbab al-nuzul of this verse, the circumstance of revelation, if you understand it, what happened, the Jews, they used to because the Muslim, they used to face towards Jerusalem before, and obviously the Qibla then changed to Mecca. So the Sahaba, they were worried that, look, all of that prayer that we did towards Jerusalem is going to be lost. So they were worried like this. But Allah then also revealed this verse. And also mentions here, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما كان الله ليضيع إيمانكم. In that verse where it mentions, and Allah would not make your faith to be lost. Here the word is Iman, to be lost, referring to the prayers that they used to pray towards Jerusalem. Allah mentions here that Allah would not allow the Iman to be lost. And obviously mentioned in regards to what? The Salah, the prayers, the physical action. Allah described it here to be Iman. So obviously, like that's what mentions the knockout punch. So clearly this verse clearly showing that the action is part of Iman. Another thing, people Irjaa, they will say that actions will not negate Iman unless it's combined with juhud or istihlal, i.e. to denial or making istihlal, i.e. making something halal, which Allah made haram, or something haram which Allah made halal. So for example, they will say, so let's say someone he says Muhammad is not the messenger. Obviously this is a denial. But then you'll say, look, he has to also believe it in his heart. Or someone, he makes the riba halal, and they'll say the action in itself is not enough. He has to believe in his heart that it is halal. And obviously the problem with this, like we mentioned in the previous session, we can't, how are we going to check what's inside? How are we going to check if we know his action is kufr, but how are we going to check if he really believed it in his heart? You can't check that. So that's why we say we judge by the apparent. If that's not what you believe in your heart, then why are you doing it? If that's not what you believe, then why are you doing the action? And there are these are the two main fundamental misguidance of the Murji'ah, my dear Muslims. It means that either you will just carry the kalima in your heart without to do any action or duty whatsoever, or that Iman is just in the heart, and whatever corruption, whatever fusq, whatever kufr that you do, whatever sins that you do, you will never leave Islam. Rather, you will continue to become Muslim. You see, it sounds fantastic, isn't it? You can be Muslim and then pretty much do as you like. Long as you believe, you say, look, yeah, I believe in Islam. And then you do, anything you like. And obviously this is how Shaitan convinces people and leads them astray. And makes them think they're on the right path and they're doing good. But obviously they convince themselves. But it's clear. They know, deep down inside, it's not the case. And obviously we're coming to the end, my dear Muslims. There are many types of Murji'ah. Unfortunately, this issue of Irjaa has affected many people. Even it's starting to creep into many different sects. And like I said, you can see why. This Irjaa, for those people who want to follow their desires and do as they please and disobey Allah, this is what we call, you ever play that game Monopoly? This is like the get out of jail card. They'll pull out the Irjaa card and they will use that to cover their backs. Say, look, in my heart, I know, yeah, so what if I'm drinking alcohol and committing zina? I believe in Islam in my heart. And I don't accept those things in my heart anyway. I know I'm doing it for my action. And this is why the Murji'ah, they hate chapters of apostasy. They have a problem with it from the books of the ulama and the salaf. Because they say that we can never know who the murtad is. So they see the Murji'ah, if they come across, like for example, Imam Bukhari, he has a chapter called Babul Ridda, the chapter of apostasy. So someone who has Irjaa, so he'll be confused. Because he can't understand how you can call someone murtad, apostate. Because obviously we'll judge people based on their action, isn't it? But the one who has Irjaa, he'll be confused. How come you can call him kafir? He's allying with the kuffar against the Muslims, and I can't call him kafir. How come you're calling him kafir? It's not right, because he has irja, because he doesn't recognize his action as affecting his iman. You see, so this is why you'll see many people, sadly, they'll work for the police, they'll work for the kuffar army to fight against Muslims. They will even spy, give information on Muslims over to the kuffar so they can oppress the believers. And they think they're not doing anything wrong. They'll take riba, they'll work in a betting shop. They'll do actions of haram and kufr and shirk, and they won't feel bad for it because they have excluded actions from being part of Iman. But rather, the correct understanding is to have talazum, to have this molding between the inner and the outer, the batin and the zahir, the inner and the outer. From your inner belief, it should be same like your outer action. So you believe in salah, and from your outer action, you pray salah. You believe Allah is the only legislator, only lawmaker. And from your outer actions, you take all your judgments to the Sharia. You rule by the law of Allah. You see, they have this. There shouldn't be this contradiction from your inner belief and from your outer action. There should be matching. There should be this talazum, this molding between the batin, the inner, and the zahir, the outer, the apparent. So if you believe Iman is just in the heart, obviously you'll be confused as to why someone is adamant to do the actions. You see, if you believe Iman is just in the heart, long as you believe it, you'll look at somebody and think, why is he bothering to pray 5 times a day? Why is he going for all that effort? He doesn't need to. Why is he bothering to come out and do dawah? It's not compulsory, and he's bringing harm upon himself for no reason. Why is he leaving his home to go and do jihad? Why is he going through all of that effort for no reason, sacrificing his life? Why is he bothering to make hijrah? Because the person who has irjaa, he was like, look, just you got your belief, and that's it. Now easy life. Long as you got it, it's like they treat it like as if you got the certificate. That's it. Now it's all finished. So obviously this is the corrupt understanding. It will cause the corrupt action it will lead to. That's why we said, my dear Muslims, the aqidah, the belief, is the driving force between all action. If your aqidah is corrupt and it has dodgy understanding, it will cause your actions to become dodgy. It will cause you to leave your obligation. It will cause you to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the people, they will even say kufr. Obviously those people who have irjaa, they will say kufr and they will do kufr, and they will call people towards kufr, and they will attack first. They'll be the first to attack Islam because they claim that they are Muslims and they say La ilaha illallah, and they'll say, what does it matter whatever kufr or haram that he does? And this is the danger of this aqidah, and we see that they all have this same fundamental disease. And this disease appeared in this ummah since about the 4th or 5th century Hijri. And they make interpretation for everything. In order to deal with them, we must look deeply on how it was caused and how it is spread. If we were to describe irja, it is like saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and then throw away the Mus'haf, destroy the Kaaba, kiss all the crosses, and call the people to interfaith, to become Jew or Christian. After all, none of it will affect your Iman. Subhanallah. This is a quote from the notes Ustad Abu Bara, he wrote from his own study with Sheikh Umar. Look at this. Someone will say La ilaha Muhammad Rasulullah, and then, because you got the belief now, as far as you said, it don't matter. You throw away the Quran, destroy the Kaaba, kiss the crosses, call the people to interfaith, become Jew and Christian. Why not? You see, because all of that is now the actions of the limbs and the tongue. So obviously, my dear Muslims, this is one of the deviancies that people have believed in, and we must explain to people obviously the correct understanding, and we must obviously study about the aqidah in detail, and our belief must be in line with the Prophet ﷺ and how the Sahaba they understood it, if we want to be obviously part of that saved sect and not be part of those other 72 deviant sects who went astray. This topic, there's lots of notes. I have this. Inshallah, if, we might continue next week, elaborating a bit more on Irjaa, some of its causes or cures, etc. So, like I said, I hope is given a clear understanding. Obviously, to many people who are practicing, etc., and being around in the Dawah, this is like a clear cut matter. The actions are part of Iman. See, but obviously, sadly, there are many who don't see it that way, and we need to argue and debate with them in the best manner, and bring them the hujjah, bring them the dalil, and explain to them, inshallah, and bring them back to the path of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, the path of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for listening, inshallah.